My boss is a jerk. Our relationship isn't great, but I do like my job and want to keep it. What can I do to improve our relationship or at least repair some of the damage already done?
Probably nothing, and you shouldn't focus on that. Instead, focus on the other three parts of work that matter not necessarily more, but also add a lot of value. So when I think of people enjoying their job and staying in a job and getting value out of their job, I think of four things, and they do go in this order of hierarchy. It's your connection to your boss, and that's not whether or not you like your boss. It's about whether or not your boss invests in you, gives you growth opportunities. You could actually really dislike your boss or like hate your boss, but if your boss invests in you, gives you good growth opportunities, puts you into interesting things, you don't have to like their personality, so to say. But I'm just going to assume that's not the case here. So the first thing that's most important is your direct relationship with your boss, your manager. The second is your relationship with your team. When I say your relationship with your team, I don't mean whether or not you like the people on your team. It's that, do the people on your team help you produce the best level of work you've ever done? So do they actively pull barriers out of your way? Are they collaborative? Do they help you? Do you help them? Do you have a back and forth that allows you to be like creative while also being able to like execute on things? The third thing is whether or not people like their job, like if you actually enjoy what you do. And then the last is pay, benefits, work-life balance, and all of that. In North America, a bit in the world, but really in North America, we've been sold this idea that like you're supposed to have like a great boss that you totally like, your team is awesome, you love what you do, and you get paid well. And in reality, that's like these perfect jobs are relatively rare. So having a boss that you really don't like is a relatively common thing. So what I encourage you to think about are the three other things. Do you have a great team? Do you like what you do? And do you get paid well? If so, what I would be thinking about is focusing on those three things because you have like a pretty great thing there. If you're missing two of those things, you should consider trying a different job. If you're missing three of those things, you should definitely get out of your job and go somewhere else. But if you're just missing one of those things, you just got to think what's more important to you. The relationship to the boss does matter, but structurally, what I'd encourage you to consider is like, is this like the final boss basically? Like, is this like the CEO of the company or is this just a boss in a company? If it's a boss in a company, you can always think, well, this is kind of like up the ladder to next things. I'll probably have other bosses here. If it's a CEO, you might want to consider if you want to stay. I wouldn't focus also so much on like repairing the relationship or trying to make it better, but being more specific about what you want out of the relationship. If you want stretch assignments, if you want stretch things, if you want to feel like you're being invested in, you should identify what those look like exactly. Don't make it vague. Don't make any vague asks. Identify what you want exactly and have that kind of dialogue. Or is it that you just want to minimize your interactions with them? Then focus on minimizing. Give things to them in writing, email them stuff, show up to your meetings like totally prepared, email things advance, just be really tucked in. Having a bad boss is by far not the worst thing that's going to happen to someone professionally if all the other parts are good of your work. But if the other parts of your work aren't good, then yeah, you should definitely get out. I know that can be a tough pill to swallow. People often want to hear like, oh, you should do this or that with your boss. No, like just because someone's a boss doesn't mean that you have to spend your time trying to like fix it with them. But you also shouldn't ignore them. If you're planning on staying there, focus on the things that you're stoked on, invest in those things, and then be really specific about what you want to get out of that relationship. And that's what you should make happen.